You are live, ladies and gentlemen. The countdown has begun. How much play did Europe get off the final countdown? It's like their only song. They did have a song called Carrie.
It was also very big for the Detroit Pistons. Here comes two.
All right, orange and blue today. That is correct. We are presented by Sean Ponda, ladies and gentlemen. Cecil Lammey, Andrew Mason.
Your Sherpas up the mountain of all things Broncos.
We got a lot of sun.
Yeah, we were outside today.
We were outside today.
Yeah, yesterday inside, today outside. A little bit hazy and smoky. Not as bad here as it is in the Midwest and back east.
Right,
but, it was a nice day. Broncos mini camp day 2, and not the final day. A fair amount of teams cut out the final day. Not the Broncos.
Yeah, and what do you think about that? Because I am anti-field day. I'm anti-egg toss and three-legged race and all that, and water dunking tank. Like, get the football. They did the big 2 days. Sean Payton said it. The first 2 days were the big days.
Yep.
Because you only have so much time. And then
tomorrow's kind of a half day.
We'll get a half day.
Not by choice. It's by league mandate. That is, I think, an interesting.
We can say that a lot about Sean Payton.
Yeah, I think if Payton had his druthers, they would go full tomorrow. And they would go full next week too.
Yeah.
But that's not the agreement that is created between the NFL and the NFLPA. It says you got a limited amount of mini camp hours, and they had longer days today and Tuesday, so they could have a short day on Thursday. So there we go.
A short day on Thursday, and everyone, of course, obviously excited about the Nuggets parade and all that. We'll be excited to see what, in fact, the final day does look like for the Denver Broncos. Yeah, we will be there.
Most of Denver's going to be downtown. We're watching things downtown. In fact, just to kind of give you a little kind of inside baseball type of thing here.
Right.
The indication we've gotten is that Sean Payton, instead of doing a post-practice press conference, will do a pre-practice Zoom. Why? Because the TV stations are using all of their resources to cover the parade. So they're adapting to them. Me, I guess I'm kind of selfish. I'm like, no, let's just do it like we've ordinarily been doing it. If you're here, great. If you're not, oh, well.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have changed a thing, but that's just me. I'm kind of old school.
You're old school that way.
All the TV people hate me right now.
Did you see all the cameramen being like, I got it signed out here? And some didn't want to go to the parade. They're like, it's going to be better out here. I don't have to fight traffic. I'm just like,
it's going to be crowded.
The Broncos are practicing. I'm going to be there. You're going to be there.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Yogi Berra said, nobody goes there anymore. It's too crowded. I mean, I wouldn't want to go downtown tomorrow. I mean, the funny thing is I've done my parade. I actually got to ride on one of the fire trucks in the Broncos Super Bowl 50 parade. I have a Super Bowl 50 ring, all that. I'm good with not covering a parade again, period. Like, I hope that that there are many championship parades in Denver. I'm just good with not going to any of them.
Okay.
I don't have to. Other people can do that, and I'm fine.
You rode a fire truck.
Yeah,
you're good.
I experienced it. I mean, some of the pictures that I value most are ones I took while I was in that parade. Like, I've got like a, Union Station, and it's just people in orange as far as the eye can see. And it was a beautiful, brilliant, sunny winter day. And it was that typical Colorado winter day that's, not really that cold. It's like upper 30s, lower 40s, but it feels nice, and the sun's out, and the skies are blue, and everybody's happy and making merry. And
making merry.
So I'm excited for the city of Denver to have a championship parade. I just don't need to be in that crowd. I don't really like crowds. I love going to sporting events, but I don't like crowds.
What's the quote from Clerks?
I hate people, but I love gatherings. And I guess you could say I love sports gatherings. But do I hate people? I don't. There are some of them I don't particularly care for.
Well, let's talk about a little fieriness on the field.
But that was about a wake, right? It was
right.
Julie Dwyer.
Yes, you're correct.
How did Julie Dwyer die?
Drowning in the pool.
Yes, correct. See, we know our.
I lived Clerks, so it's the VU-SQ universe.
The SQ universe.
I'm going to know about.
Yes, exactly.
Would you like to hear from Sean Payton on this show?
I'd love to hear from Sean Payton because he talks about how things were at practice today, and it got a little chippy, so he referenced it. So yes, we can tell you there was a bit of a Donnybrook, a dust up during team period today.
Here we go.
Yeah, the message is, look, we gotta understand what we're trying to accomplish as a team, and it's always the challenge for the O&D linemen, and so then we also have to be able to understand discipline-wise how to get to the edge but not cross the line, and so games come up. We saw it last year. Playoff run. I referenced the Cincinnati Bengals penalty late. You know, you've got to train yourself mentally to get on to the next play, and that's why we're doing what we're doing.
Go up to the line, but not cross it. Do you feel they crossed the line today at practice?
I think they did, which is one of the reasons why he gathered everybody to talk about it. Now, Sean Payton likes a certain amount of intensity in his practices. I mean, you come out to training camp late July, early August, especially once you get past those first few ramp-up days. I would say if you're a Broncos fan, don't come to the first 3 training camp practices, okay?
Let them get the pads on.
Get the pads on, then you're going to start seeing some stuff happen. And if you come in when the pads are on and you're a few days into training camp, you're probably going to see some stuff go down on the field. You're going to see it get chippy. And look, he wants to see intensity, but like he said, you don't want it to cross the line. You don't want it to be where intensity becomes a penalty. I'll tell you what, we were both watching up on the hillside, and I was chatting with a couple other reporters. I think you were chatting with DMAC for a while today.
Yes.
I was chatting with a couple other reporters, and we were talking about, even before this little dust up, we were talking about how if something happened, who'd be at the center of it. And we all kind of agreed it would be Randy Gregory. Now, Randy was not involved today, but Randy plays to the edge and beyond. When he's out there and flourishing, it's part of why he can be an excellent pass rusher, is because he walks up to that line. Sometimes he goes over, but the thing is, what is that going to do for him in Sean Payton's eyes if he does cross that line? And it cost the Broncos something. Randy Gregory last year, when he was going off against the Rams, it didn't cost the Broncos anything because they were getting their ass kicked, right? But what if that sort of thing happens and you're in a tight game? Let's say there are moments like that against Washington in week 2 and Sam Howell's dealing, and all of a sudden you're in a fight, in a metaphorical fight. It's a close game. You can't afford that sort of thing.
And I think with the construct of this team, you can't afford that, period.
Yeah.
Like, you want to play with that edge, but you definitely don't want to go over that, because guess what, Broncos country, you're going to have a lot of close games this year.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be like Minnesota.
It's going to be squeaky bum time
Minnesota
quite a bit out there this year.
8-0 in one-score games.
I think
last
it was
year.
11 or
was it 11?
It wasn't,
whatever it was.
Wasn't it? It was something statistically ridiculous. And then, of course, they get to the playoffs in a one-score game, and
they lose.
Yeah. There's something about that with the Vikings. By the way, Gary Anderson, perfect all the way on place kicks through 1998.
Right.
And then he misses in the NFC Championship game, the kick that would literally get them to the Super Bowl. And then last year, so let's go through it really quickly. Their one-score wins: 28-24, 28-25, 29-22, 24-16, 34-26, 20-17, 33-30, 33-26, 27-22, 39-36. Yeah. And then 27-24. And then you get a 7-point game in the playoffs against a team that you did beat by 1 score on Christmas Eve.
Yes.
And you lose.
So you can't have any of the extracurricular stuff if you're built like the Denver Broncos, because you're going to have close games and you're not going to be able to do and get unconscious like Minnesota.
This team is going to play games on a knife's edge. This team is also going to try to win games at the margins. I know you're not a big special teams person, but they're going to, in my opinion, based on what I've seen, and also based on a conversation I had with Mike Westhoff today, you'll be able to read all about that at denversports.com. I think they're going to win a couple of games at the margins on special teams based on what they're doing right now. And one thing that was interesting about the conversation with Westhoff, he said he went back and watched everything from last year, as you would expect. There are some coaches, they'll be like, I want tabula rasa. No, Westhoff wanted to watch everything, right? He wanted to see what he was getting into.
Right.
The interesting thing he said was that he felt it was better than it was believed to be. And I think where you kind of get into that is there were some individual performances that were good and that you can build off of, even though the collective for the special teams, at least until Jerry Rossberg became the interim head coach, was not great. The last 2 games on special teams, they literally lifted themselves up off the bottom of the league standings. They were looking at being 32nd in special teams in 2 of the 3 major metrics. They got themselves up based on those last 2 games. And so maybe that's also part of where, Westhoff sees some promise here, is that you had somebody different that was running the special teams, and all of a sudden those last 2 games, it actually looked pretty darn good.
And I talked to the special teams coach, Kawka. How do you pronounce his last name?
Ben Katwaika, who's worked with Mike Westhoff for a long time.
They're like a package.
They really are kind of a package deal. And then you have Chris Banjo, the young coach coming in who just finished his playing career, who played for both Ben Katwaika and Mike Westhoff in New Orleans. Yeah. So it's very much a pretty firm philosophy of what they're doing, and it's passing on what you've learned, as Yoda told Luke in Return of the Jedi, pass on what you've learned. Westhoff's passed on what he's learned to Ben Katwaika, and now both of them are passing on what they've learned to Chris Banjo.
Yeah. And I asked Ben Katwaika about, hey, when you signed on, you had Brandon McManus. And now we're looking at a kicker competition. Oh, yeah. And it is as simple, and it was his answer. Like, it's as simple as who makes them and who doesn't.
Yeah. It was funny because Westhoff's response to that was it's above his pay grade.
Okay. All right.
Westhoff's a good dude. By the way, I'm reading his book right now. You can find it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, etc. Highly recommend it, by the way.
Yeah. There's some good football books out there.
There's a lot of good special team stuff in there, kind of details of stuff, kind of his role in kind of the evolution of kickoff coverage. And another thing, and this is going to be, I think, a fascinating story when I write at denversports.com. I asked Westhoff how he felt about the fair catch rule on kickoffs. Now it comes out to the 25. He's okay with it. Like, the thing that he doesn't want to see happen is the kickoff go away. Like, he doesn't like what they're doing in the XFL, where effectively they turn the kickoff into a punt, right? He doesn't like that. He is more in line with, kind of some of the things they've done in the USFL. He mentioned how Mike Pereira, who's working with the USFL on some rules tweaks, actually, he and Mike Pereira chat about some of the things they're doing in the USFL, but he doesn't want to see the kickoff go away. So, something that helps safety, which he said he's very much in favor of. If it keeps the kickoff in the game, that's what he wants to see. Doesn't want to see the kickoff go.
Okay, some good stuff coming at denversports.com. That's why you subscribe to that Denver Sports Daily every single morning, hot and fresh to your inbox.
Did you really just put that comment on?
Oh, that's from Jason. He told me that you needed to get off the edibles because you said, Rockies, you're on the clock. I think you tweeted out like, hey, you got Nuggets winning it all. You got Avs winning it. You got Broncos. And then my man, Jason, our pot stoner degenerate from Greeley, sent me your tweet. And he said, tell Mace that them edibles are kicking in, baby.
Jason, I just want to tell you something here. 20 years ago, when the first Nuggets season for which I was in town was 02-03. Jeff Bezdelik was the coach. The hardest working team in the NBA. That was the slogan. The hardest working team in the NBA, because they had no talent. They were terrible. And because of that, the tickets were often available, often cheap or free. I went to a bunch of games that year.
Okay. Saw a lot of bad basketball.
Saw a lot of bad. Well, but hey, there are other teams that come in. I mean, my justification was, who's in town? I can see end stage Karl Malone and cross that item off the bucket list, right? I mean, just whatever, name your player of the day. I mean, basically, if it wasn't Kobe Bryant and the Lakers coming in that year, tickets were plentiful.
Right.
Anyhow, so I think back to looking around what was then known as the Pepsi Center and seeing a sea of brown seats. Remember, it was all the brown seats back then.
Yeah.
And who could have known that 20 years later from that, the Nuggets basically that was kind of the culmination of being a fountain of incompetence, right? Even though there was a worse year, the 11-71 year, it looked like, okay, there's no way out of this, right? And now this team they have nobody on the court aside from beating the Sonics in 94. They've basically done nothing for, a dozen years, right? It looks hopeless. And now look where the Nuggets are. And actually, very soon after that, they became competitive and quite good under George Karl with Melo, with Chauncey, with AI coming somewhere. Okay, right. So it didn't take long for hope to return. So I know everybody's frustrated with the Rockies, and they're up to their eyeballs, and they've given up because as long as Dick Monfort runs the team, nothing's going to happen. You know what? Something could still happen. Okay, it may not be tomorrow, it may not be next year, but don't put it past the Rockies to get hot and win out of nowhere. Remember, baseball is very much a sport in the postseason of who's hot. I mean, Atlanta won the title in 2021 with literally the worst playoff team they'd ever had. So, okay, I mean, you get hot. So don't tell me the Rockies can't do it. We around here need to demand more of the Colorado Rockies. We demand a lot of the Denver Broncos, and we're very unhappy with the last few years. We demand a lot of the Avs. They've justified it recently. We demand a lot of the Nuggets. Look what they just did. You need to start demanding stuff for the Rockies rather than just saying, "Oh, it's okay. Everything's sunny at 20th."
It's the best bar in Lodo.
No. Let's start being demanding of the Rockies.
What's your demands for Vance Joseph? Because I'm going to get to my question about Russell Wilson. Because God bless, we don't need to know about VJ's parking spot. Sorry, Chris, but dude, come on.
Dude, you didn't need to.
We have Vance Joseph there.
You just love calling people out on this show.
I don't care. Yeah, that's fine. They'll be fine. I'll be fine. But my question about Russell Wilson notwithstanding, it was good to see Vance Joseph back out there.
And he was in good spirits. And I'll tell you what, when he talked about kind of what happened, he just pointed the win-loss lecture. He didn't try to make excuses. Just didn't win enough games. I did as well. Even though the thing is, you and I both know he could have gotten up there and said and spoken about some things that were beyond his control that helped sink his stewardship.
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of that. And I don't mean to be a VJ apologist here, but he was dealt an unbelievably poor hand at quarterback.
Yes, that he was forced to work with. And so when I was crafting my question for VJ, I was going to throw in something about that, but I decided against it. I felt that would be best to just avoid hey, you were forced to play quarterback that you didn't want to play. But I had to ask him about Russell Wilson. And he didn't say he still has it.
He had a diplomatic
answer. Yes.
It was a very diplomatic answer from VJ.
It was because I asked to sum up the question, no offense against the quarterback. When someone says no offense, it means totally take offense. There's a compasult when someone's like, "Oh man, you've lost a lot of weight."
So you got the same vibe from that answer that I did.
Yes. Yeah. And isn't it interesting that when I said, "Does Russ still have it?" the answer wasn't just yes, he does. It was diplomatic.
Yeah, with qualifiers.
What's that mean? It's up to Sean. It's up to Peyton to get it out of him. What's that mean? Does it mean too much? It mean nothing? Does it mean something? It means something. Just how much of something?
It means that we don't know yet. It means that this year is about finding out about Russell Wilson, and we don't have the answers as we sit here on Flag Day. By the way, it was Flag Day out there. There were some flags today.
Okay.
So there were flags on Flag Day.
There. So what did you think about that honesty? Because
I loved it.
I tended to ask Joe Lombardi something similar, which we'll get to. We got plenty to say. Okay. It's not just today's show. We got plenty to say tomorrow. We got plenty to say Friday.
Actually, this week gave us a lot of stuff that we're going to be kind of.
But I said it on the drive before this show. They're not just heaping everything like Russell Wilson's totally going to be back. Russ has to earn those praises.
And Russ really is kind of just another guy here, right? I mean, Joe Lombardi kind of spelled that out in his own press conference that, it's not Russ getting special treatment. Last year it felt like Camp Russ. This year it feels like Camp Broncos, and Russ is a player on the team. I mean, I'll tell you this. The other thing I'll say, again, it's early. It's Flag Day. We have a long way to go. My personal thought could be wrong. We shall see. My personal thought is if it's not Russell Wilson, who's the long-term answer at quarterback here, the long-term answer isn't here. I have yet to see it with Jarrett Stidham.
And I alerted people on the drive today before the show, like, we got to pump the brakes. Jarrett Stidham's just a guy.
Well, I mean,
he's a nice backup, but he's just a guy.
There's
nothing there more.
We know who's driving the Jarrett Stidham bus on the drive.
He's got to pump the brakes then. Yeah. He's just a guy.
I've tried to talk with D-Mac about this off air. We've been watching practice. And I'm saying, like, no. He's like, he is a perfectly fine backup. Let's see where he goes.
Does he want like this sort of like Stidham can beat Wilson thing? There's no way in hell. There's no way in hell. Even though Wilson may not be what he used to be, Mace, like Stidham's just a guy. Nice guy. Great guy, greatest guy ever. Whatever I have to say.
I think he can be a good backup, and he can give you a few games. But yeah, I'm seeing. I put it this way: I'm putting in my notes some stuff that just doesn't strike me as as promising for being a star quarterback.
Yeah.
So again, I think I think that he's an upgrade over Brett Rippon. There's no doubt about that. He is. He has more clubs in his bag than Brett Rippon does. Okay.
For sure.
That has to be said. But the notion that if Russell Wilson doesn't work out, that Jarrett Stidham could be the guy, that isn't, not saying it can't happen. That's an incredible long shot at this point.
Yeah. And we're seeing no signs of that.
Yeah. So again, let's keep things reasonable here. Open to the possibility of him all of a sudden flowering with the tutelage of Sean Payton. Could happen, but we'll see. Right now, I'm not convinced. I see a solid backup quarterback, but solid backup quarterbacks, you are giving up something in terms of quality.
Yeah, and
compared to the starters. That's why they're backups, people.
Yeah, it's better than what you had with Brett Rippon, but it's not something to look forward to.
Put it this way: if Jarrett Stidham had come in the fourth quarter against the Chiefs last December, the Broncos stopped the losing streak. Okay. So he's that level of better than Brett Rippon. Like because when Rippon came out, because he had that touchdown there when he took over in goal to go. And then Rippon comes out for the next series. I mean, God bless Brett, but it just wasn't there. Like we had, you're watching him. There was no shot. Okay. It just wasn't. Jarrett Stidham, I think, would give you a shot.
Yes.
Although it's funny you say that against the Chiefs, because when Stidham played the Chiefs for a full game with the Raiders,
it looked bad.
That's the thing. The 49ers game looked great.
No film.
No denying that. It's like everyone's focused on that film, and it's like, what happened next? Y'all saw draft day. What was the late Chadwick Boseman, as Vontae Max, saying, hey, watch what happens next, right? What happened next for Jarrett Stidham? That Saturday afternoon game in Las Vegas, it wasn't pretty.
Was it interesting? My final note on VJ for today, again, jam-packed shows here.
Yeah.
My final point on VJ is it's interesting that Sean Payton said there's 4 or 5 future head coaches on his staff.
Yes.
I can think of a couple, but VJ's one of those. And
yes,
VJ will be better his second time around.
No doubt. And he will be better. And here's what I hope for VJ. I hope things go so well for him here that he can be selective. And what I mean is, if he has a very good season as defensive coordinator this year, but the right job isn't available, he can say, you know what? I don't like that situation. I'm going to wait. Okay. There are some coaches, they just, it's 1 of 32. I got to take any job that comes available.
Right.
I hope that one of the things that happens for VJ is that he becomes selective about what he takes and that he is in a better situation than he has been. I mean, you start looking around the league, like, I'll just give you an example. If he has a good season as defensive coordinator, let's say Washington with new ownership opens up. Okay. What's their draft situation? What's their quarterback situation? And what do we know about ownership? I would say, with all the question marks there, I'm not sure that's the best place for him to go.
Right.
Conversely, let's say Cleveland struggles this year. Let's say Deshaun Watson plays well, but the Browns defense breaks down and they go 7-10 and move on. I'd say, okay, you have some questions about Jimmy Haslam being very impetuous as an owner, But if Deshaun Watson's putting things back together, that looks like a situation where you can have some success, right?
Right.
So I hope he can. I hope he can be selective. I do believe he can be a good head coach. You're also talking about Christian Parker, the defensive backs coach, and
1000%. He might be a head coach before Vance Joseph gets another chance.
Yeah, and the other thing also on CP is there's probably another step for him to take potentially as a defensive coordinator. The question is, does he take that step here? That may depend on Vance Joseph. If Vance Joseph takes another job, CP probably becomes your defensive coordinator, and that's it.
Isn't that sad that defensive coaches have to take that next step? Because if you're a quarterback's coach, you're immediately a head coaching candidate. And on defense, you seem to have, was he a coordinator?
Did Mike Tomlin skip that step?
I believe so.
Well,
I do not believe Mike Tomlin was a coordinator before he was a head coach.
And that worked out pretty well.
It worked out pretty damn good. Damn good, especially when it was supposed to be Russ Grimm and Ken Wisenhunt.
No.
Wisengrim. Was he a coordinator?
Defensive coordinator, Minnesota 06, my bad.
Just 1 year. Just 1 year.
1 year, yes.
Okay. So, like Vance Joseph was a defensive coordinator for 1 year, and then he becomes a head coach.
Yeah.
So Parker's going to be a head coach.
Parker's going to be a head coach. VJ is going to be a head coach.
But when Sean Payton said 4 or 5, I was like, I got a couple, coach. And I like this coaching staff. This is an experienced group for the most part, not everybody. But it's a nice blend of youth and experience and coaches that love to teach football.
Well, given how everybody wants offensive minds, I do wonder if, even though this is very early, one of those coaches he's talking about is Davis Webb.
There's your quarterback coach talking. I was just talking about.
Yeah.
I would rather have Zach Robinson than Davis Webb, but that's just me. Chatfield Chargers, what's up?
That's yeah. You always have to get Chatfield and Zach Robinson in.
Got to. Love Zach Robinson.
All right. And then who the fourth coach is, that I'm not sure about. I
really enjoyed watching Zach Strief coach the offensive line yesterday. I can't say much, but he's connecting, he's teaching. Especially for Quinn Miners, and I've told the story before where Miners last year would ask Butch Berry questions and then he'd just get yelled at and wouldn't get the answer. You're getting the answer from Zach Strief. So I really enjoyed watching him coach offense, and I was right next to him yesterday.
What's the bigger upgrade? Sean Payton over Nathaniel Hackett or Zach Strief over Butch Berry?
It's Strief over Berry. Sorry.
Which says a lot about Butch Berry.
That does say a lot about Butch Berry, but that's...
Well, and the other huge upgrade, I would say, is the combination of Ben Katwaika and Mike Westhoff over Dwayne Stukes.
Yes, very much so. Having that combination, having Westhoff as a resource. I mean, my God, you could have talked to him for hours. You guys could have been at dinner right now.
Yes, I honestly, I would love to just sit down and
go to Elway's,
sit down Elway's or Shanahan's and just pick his brain for 3 hours. It's more. I mean,
great.
I feel smarter having talked to him for 12 minutes today. Wish it could have been longer. I feel like with Westhoff, you listen to him, you learn some lessons about special teams, you learn some life lessons. I mean, guys,
he's been through a lot.
He's tremendous. He's a huge asset to the Broncos and huge asset to Sean Payton as well, because here's somebody who is as trustworthy a right-hand person as you're going to see in the NFL. I can't imagine a better assistant head coach for a team than Mike Westhoff. And you watch Westhoff, he's 75 years old now. And you watch him on a kickoff drill and how he's coaching everybody. You can see why he and Sean Payton clicked, because they're both exceptionally detail oriented.
They're both teachers.
They're teachers, and they beneath being a little bit gruff, they do care. I'll say Sean Payton does care about his dudes.
He cares about his players.
He really does. That's one thing that's clear. He is that really demanding teacher that sometimes under your breath you're going to dog cuss, but man, they're going to get the best out of you. That's you look around this staff, there's a lot of people like that they're really good teachers, and they can be really hard on you, but it's out of love. It's out of love. It's they care about you being the best player that you can be. And
it's beautiful.
The result, it may not be as evident as everyone wants it to be this year. If you're looking for like 12 or 13 wins, I'd love to see that. I think they come up shorter than that. But over the years, you're going to see that.
And when you talk about building culture, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a culture of expectations. Don't play football without expectations. This is a game. You're out here for fun. But damn it, you got to win. And so you're creating these expectations with discipline and love.
It's funny you say it's about winning because, Westhoff was with the Jets for a while, and testament to his to what he has been as a coach, what he is as a coach, is the fact that while he's with the Jets, he works under Herm Edwards, and then he works under Eric Mangini, and then he works under Rex Ryan before he takes his first retirement after 2012. Like, he's retired twice and come back. Sean Payton's brought him back both times. Like, came back in 2017, he came back this year. Like, and the funny thing is, he'd never worked with Sean Payton before, but the two of them, you can see they're just basically, it's like a brotherly relationship that they have. But they are so in tune with each other. It's not
unhealthy coaching habits.
No.
You mentioned Westhoff's age. Sean Payton's not a spring chicken. He's not super old, whatever. But
like, you
have healthy coaching habits. Was it BK that asked him, like, how? BK is very special. Like, how long are you going to take off?
For one person. You know who you are.
But like, and Sean Payton was like, yeah, my daughter's getting married, but like, I'm going to be back at it. But you don't get it's unhealthy.
Yeah.
Remember when Justin Houghton was like, I haven't drove my car in 2 weeks. Like, that's not helping you, dude.
No.
It's healthy coaching habits.
You got to work smarter, not harder sometimes. Working smarter means getting rest. And when you look around and you see Mike Westhoff out there, you see Joe Vitt having a huge role out there.
Vitt was fun to watch.
Yeah, he's another guy. Like these, here you have these coaches that are in their 60s and 70s. And I'll tell you what, I'll compare it to last year. Dom Capers is around, but you're watching him. It seems like he's very much on the periphery of things. And almost as if he's there just because somebody in the building felt like he has to be there because we need an old hand in there. But these young coaches don't necessarily feel like they need him, right? You have Mike Westhoff and Joe Vitt, and these two are like at the center of things. Like, they're like, you don't have to look very far to see them. They're not on the periphery. They're right there at the core of things.
And players appreciate that.
Yeah, they do.
I've often said it. Players want to be coached. They don't want last year, playground ball. Like, just do whatever. What's Russ say?
They want to win.
Sierra. Oh my God.
Yeah,
holy, shut your mouth.
As Westhoff's former boss, Herm Edwards, said famously, you play to win the game. You're playing this to win. That is what everybody wants. It's one reason why I love the pros rather than, with all respect, like high school and college, because it's so simple-minded. It's single-minded. It's about winning, right? You watch Ted Lasso?
No.
Okay. Well,
everyone cusses at me because I don't watch it. You'd be shocked to know I don't watch Ted Lasso.
There is from the first season, there is a speech in there that Ted's assistant, his longtime assistant, Coach Beard, gives to him. And Ted's trying to say it's not just about winning and losing, because they've been at like coaching college. And then Beard's like, damn it, it is. And he's like, look, I understood the mission when we were in college in Kansas, but these are pros. We got to, and you have to, and it's about whether they should bench an aging player who's struggling. And Ted's like, no, it'll like hurt him. And then Beard's like, no, you have to make the move for the team that's going to help it win. It is okay for it to be about winning and losing here. That's why I like the pros rather than college.
Okay.
Because it's clear. It's all about winning. You play to win the game, right?
Better
no
rant.
questions.
You play to win the game. Playoffs, or we let him off the hook. Which is the better rant?
Or my personal favorite from Jim Mora is the one where he's like,
played like diddly
we sucked. Our offense sucked. Special teams sucked. We didn't do diddly poo out there.
God bless Jim Mora.
That was his last game as Saints coach. Like that was a man who had just had it.
Enough.
He was done.
Enough, buddy.
10+ seasons. And he's like, I can't do anymore. And then he took a year off and then came back with the Colts. And then as things were devolving with the Colts in 2001, he gives us playoffs.
I just hope we win a game.
Oh, yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Classic. No field day.
No field day.
I'm fine.
No field day, no day off. It's just going to be a practice day.
Shorter
Fine.
day.
Good. It's shorter, but it's a practice day. That is how it should be. Look, I think I wasn't as bothered by field day as some other people were, but I would say this: when you're coming off a season like last year, multiple seasons, and you're trying to build a culture, you're trying to create those bonds, there's the team building. You know what? I think you create that team building by everyone getting their butt kicked by Dan Dalrymple in the workouts, rather than, you know, the potato sack race,
egg
toss, 3-point contest, wiffle ball, home run derby, whatever. Just, you can have one day of football, one more day of football. That's it. Then move on.
Compete Street, not Sesame Street.
And that by the way, yes, that was there's a sign that says,
and it's bolted in the cement.
Bolted in the cement by the press conference area. It says 2023 Compete Street. Troy said last year was Sesame Street. I said no, last year was Easy Street in camp.
Okay.
You've gone from Easy Street to Compete Street.
You love it.
Yeah, you're not going to come out there for training camp every third day and see a jog through. Okay? Imagine that you've driven in.
You've traveled from Pueblo.
Yes, from Sterling. You've come down from Sterling for the day.
From Grover.
Yeah. Hugo. Yuma.
Ray.
Lyman.
Akron. Otis.
Meeker.
Kyoto.
Glenwood Springs.
Rifle. We can keep going.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay.
Canyon City.
You're good
Florence.
See football.
Hey, your neighbor's Supermax and a Gary Player golf course down there.
Oh.
And you drive to the Broncos headquarters and you watch it jog through. No, you want to actually see some guys going at it. Well, this year you're not going to have to worry about that. You are going to see them going at it. Can't wait, as Bart Scott would say. Let's do this.
Can't wait. Salida, Grand Junction, Yampa, Texas, Albuquerque, Potstoner says Greeley. Of course, Greeley, Potstoner, yes. Erie. We got it. We get you, and we love you.
Don't forget Alt, A-U-L-T.
Don't forget Eaton.
You know what they say Alt stands for? A-U-L-T, a unique little town.
Okay. Nunn, Pierce. You know what they say Iowa stands for?
No, what does Iowa stand for? Tell
Idiots
me.
out walking around.
Anyway. Oh, come on.
Hey, you just asked me what it stood for. I'm telling you. There we go. It is Orange Blue today. We're presented by Sean Ponda. He's Andrew Mason at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil. We got a ton to write. DenverSports.com, Denver Sports Daily. It's free. There's no God-blessed paywalls on our site. So please go there, DenverSports.com, bookmark it, check out everything that we write. He's got a ton to write. I've got a ton to write. So we got to go. So until next time, be safe, be kind, know that you are appreciated. Stay tuned, and please, my friends, stay frosty.